Hey everyone. Um, so something that's been on my mind lately and kind of been thinking about with um, you know, kind of revisiting my cult knowledge and stuff like that is archons. And many people, some people know what they are, some people may not know. And so, okay, what is an archon, or what is by definition? If you follow David Icke is one known that is spoken about archon or archonic energy. And what's interesting is they can be either thing. But as David Icke's description is, an archonic entity is plays pretty much both roles, which is why I chose the image to use here, because an archonic energy plays both roles essentially of the light and the dark, and it encompasses both of these things as a kind of outside subjective form of you, an outside the outside force, to whether you're a, you follow whatever path you follow. Anything that is outside of yourself, you're calling upon, or anything that you're calling upon, or that you're calling into you, it could be considered to be a source of archonic energy. Okay. Now, true, and that's within the definition of what a lot of other theorists and stuff. However, now let's look at this. Okay, so an archonic energy, the state of it is that it's something outside of yourself. Or now, if you follow occultism, and with occultism, this indeed relates to occultism, because it's all the same thing. Is that anything that outside of yourself is actually also within, as above, so below, as within, so without. Aleister Crowley. And so, in actuality, this idea to fear any type of being that's outside of you, that by thinking that you have to avoid something for whatever reason, by thinking that you have to, not give into it or whatever, it still creates that fear that it's resistance. Okay, it's resistance. You're resistant to that idea. It doesn't mean you have to entertain it, or it doesn't mean you have to you don't have to be fearful of anything, nor do you have to entertain anything or invite anything in. Just you can just let it be. It doesn't mean that it is this, evilish or whatever being. In Gnosticism, Gnostics are aware of, Gnostics refer to the archonic energy. They look at, the Christian version of what the Christian biblical sense of what God is, and the Gnostics look at the same thing and see two different beings. This happens in many spectrums, and so it is essentially the same entity. It is the same energy, which is a result of us. So when you fear an outside source or an outside thing, whatever it is, or you think you need to call upon or whatever, that's feeding into that resistance aspect of yourself. That's feeding into that resistance that you fear this outside force, that you think that this thing can somehow harm you or somehow control you. We think we're taught not to give into fear. We're taught not to or we follow, we want to follow as little fear as possible. Well, why do we do so? Because fear is archonic energy, supposedly. And so, as you learn, or the information that's coming in it's all the same thing. It's not to be like, we know of the Matrix. Well, some do. Short story for those that may not know or whatever. The Matrix is the subjective reality that we're conditioned to, which again, the Matrix in itself, to kind of side note, yes, we are in the Matrix, and we exist in the Matrix. However, doesn't mean that the Matrix program or the program that we exist in has to be limited. You know, we can create whatever the fuck we want. Literally, we can create whatever the fuck we want. We know this, okay? Some do, some may not. When I say we, I mean, you get the idea. But, you know, I mean, not everyone may know this, but whatever. If you don't know this, you can create whatever the fuck you want, okay? Now, so we exist in the Matrix, and as we have this idea, even within the Matrix, that, oh no, I'm in the Matrix, I have this limited perception, I have this limited reality, I have these limits. Okay, just because you're aware and aware that if you even want to call it the Matrix, or some kind of simulation, some kind of program, some kind of thing, because we know the knowledge that you're outside of you're more than just your human self, you know. And so there becomes all this knowledge and all this information that you want to somehow get away from that. You wanna be like, well, I want to be outside of the Matrix and yet still be physically within this world, if you will, you know. And guess what? As a programmer, when you become aware, when you become, you know, you can totally rewrite your program. Just because you exist in the Matrix doesn't mean you have to adhere to the programming of it. Okay? It is just like any program, just like your actual computer. You can do whatever the hell you want to. You can access worlds of information. You can you can change, you know, websites. You can change your browsers. You can change, you know, your phone or whatever, like whatever internet connection. You can change, you know, you can choose to shut down or exit out of a window of a website, or, you know, whatever, stuff like that. You can log out, you know. So you can log out of these points in the Matrix that you don't have to adhere to, because the program exists as both spectrums. The program exists as both the light and the dark, if you will, and in between. It just is. As everything else, it is just energy. It is the duality of us, of our conscious selves, that have created created this to be. You know, we've created this, to be a truth. Or again, I say we, you know, as many that see this or whatever. But, you know, it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be true or whatever. I'm actually going to share this really quick, so just give me a moment here. And if anyone who is listening either now or on the replay, you know, feel free to drop your stuff below or whatnot, or, you know, all that stuff or whatever. I'm just going to take a moment here. Okay. But, you know, this idea that, you know, that something can harm you, it is, how to break this down. Okay. Nothing can truly harm you in an aspect. And within the you know, the non-physical construct. I mean, I'm not going to talk, you know, but on the energetic multidimensional level, and essentially, as I've heard many others, and I agree with this, is that magic, anything that's within, as above, so below, as within, so without. Like, this phrase has that phrase has been in my head lately, and it's for a reason. It's because, you know, you realize, you see, like, everything is existent externally as it is within. In magic, when when you're doing an invocation or whatever, if you so choose to, invoke or evoke, well, we're going to say, but invocation, we're going to use invocation here. It's not good, there is a difference, but let's kind of talk about that another time. But invocation, when you call upon an entity, when you call upon a deity, when you call upon, a god, goddess, whatever, essentially you are not only calling on that externalized version of that thing, you're also as well tuning into that aspect within, that the term working on your inner demons, or conquering your inner demons, is because they exist within you as well. So when you give notice to that is within, you're also acknowledging it without. Okay? Because both are true, and both must be true, because you can't, in order for you, and within the regulations, if you will, of the the constructs, or the regulations, rules, or by some of occultism, is, first, of course, you must believe that what you are conjuring is actually existent within the outer realm, as well as it's relative to what's within. This is also why, if you look at many stories of exorcisms, many of the stories of exorcisms is a result of both psychology as well as an external source, an external entity. And it's because it exists on both. Again, it exists on both levels. It's pure energy. Okay, think of it as most. Okay, so let's say, for example, someone's possessed by a, quote, demon. Okay, and side note, as a demon itself is not truly a negative nor a positive being. It itself just is. So in that aspect, a demon is just a word for an entity, for a energy field, essentially. But okay, back to the thing. Like, okay, so someone becomes possessed by, we'll say, let's see, I don't know. Anyone want to give me a name here? All right, we'll say Belial. Okay. So someone becomes possessed by Belial, either upon their own doing during conjuration, or somehow they've just become, okay, they've just become possessed, and in either case they've somehow allowed it to come into them. Okay? And so, as that happens, or as that they declare that they've allowed this thing to enter into them, it becomes true. Before that energy could enter into them, that energy just is. That energy is just existent, as essentially void, as nothing. You see, just as any external energy or entity is as well nothing. It exists as nothing. It exists. It may. Okay. The idea that we give it to, that these things are working and whatever, it is not. How to explain this? It is not the energies or the entities themselves per se that is doing the work. This still goes into the idea of you yourself, given your externalization, so your internalized abilities to an externalized source. Okay? And so, as you begin to see that everything within also exists without, you will begin to understand how you can actually create and shape your world. And if you choose to, use entities or call upon them or whatever, also make it known to yourself exactly how you're working with it, why you are working with it, what you want from it, because every energy can bring to you a different result, which is why there's descriptions of them. When you look at figures and when you look at, beings, or again, deities, gods, goddesses type of thing, when you look at them and their attributes and their physical characterizations, everything that is attributed to them in that aspect is a result of human and whatever humans are mixed with imagination. The infinite connection to consciousness is the result of how we perceive a being to look like, to feel like, to maybe smell like, to look at, and how we create it to appear in the films, literature, and movies and such that we have made, is because it exists within us, and we're given that, the imagination gives that externalized view of this thing. And so, as you know that something exists both within and without you, or both within as well as without, simultaneously, then you can control, in a sense, that magic aspect of yourself. Because I see a lot not to invoke certain things, or not to call upon certain things, or not to whatever. And it's really about, it's more so about you realizing that even the idea of, saying, like, the idea that of you, somehow realizing that these things exist, and again, in an aspect, versus okay, acknowledging that these things exist is neither good or bad. Okay? The idea that they somehow should be feared, or that an energy or outside source should be feared, is in itself an oxymoron. Because if you are a divine creator, if you are a god, if you are a multidimensional being, if you are a unlimited being, then what the fuck are you fearing? What are you afraid of? Like, you have nothing to be afraid of. You have no, of the avoidance of these things. Like, oh, I should avoid these archonic angels, or these demons, or these whatever. Which is why archangels, or archangels, however you want to say it, are called archangels, which comes from archonic energy, which is the form. And archonic energy is not just in spirituality; it exists in government. It exists. It's archonic energy is distributed in many ways. It's distributed within if you think you need to see a doctor for whatever reason. And I'm not saying, this is not to say for anyone, whatever, stop seeing it, that's a whole, no. But it's recognizing that, it's recognizing that point of maybe I've seen this person for so, like a relationship that's not good for you. I've seen this thing for so long, exists any type of relationship that you've seen this. You've gone out with this person or dated this person for so long, and they're destroying you somehow, and they're not good for you, whatever way. It could be a big way, or it could be a small way, but whatever way, they're not good for you. But you keep, whatever. You keep, well, maybe it'll get better, or maybe it'll work out, maybe this will be different, or whatever. Essentially you're just weaving yourself down the same path, over and over and over and over, right? Until eventually maybe you say, like, fuck it, and realize that you've given into this way too long. And maybe some people don't realize it, and they spend the rest of their life and literally live in hell. That's up to them. But it's realizing how just it just doesn't make sense to have any fear of something. Period. And I'm not talking about within the physical construct, with the energetic, as the energetic construct goes, which also does relate to the physical, which is why, this is why there is a fear within the physical construct, is because the fear within is related to the fear of the unknown. And so the unknown becomes that fear. It becomes, well, just as anything, the human doesn't, the human has to get used to a new type of thinking, a new type of situation, a new type of environment, and it's a learning process, okay? And so as it learns, as it gains that clarity, as it moves towards that information, it begins to pick up and it begins to see that this new way is different. This new way of thinking is different from what I knew. This way of thinking is different from where I've been, and so you allow that to come in, and you allow that not to control you so much. Whereas by looking at this information and thinking that there's some kind of force, however it may be, that can harm you, is resistance. Pure and simple, that is resistance. It doesn't mean that this force exists or it doesn't exist. It means that you have resistance to it, and when you have resistance to something, it is going to create resistance in your life. The mirror effect, okay? Both of these energies, you look at this image, both of these energies are the same being, okay? Into one, and this being encompasses both of these. This is you, okay? This is you. This is the externalized version of yourself. You have God and devil within, light and dark, black and white, however it may be. And so when you fear something externalized, when you fear something that's outside of yourself, or it's so mind-boggling. Like, how are you going to be afraid of a supernatural, paranormal type of being or whatever when you shouldn't be afraid of, like, and I know this is easier said than done, but when you see how that you are powerful and that these things are aspects of you, you can control it yourself. Yes, it takes practice. It does take, you have to learn how to do it. Obviously, you have to learn how to, reprogram that part of yourself, because it is psychological as well. It's the psychological aspect within you. Your mind also tells you and also allows these things to be seen. These things exist within you. Your psychological mind, or that psychological aspect of you, is that part of you that's also attuned within everything, okay? You can label it as psychological, whatever, doctor type of bullshit. But truthfully, that's the aspect of you that's attuned to every other multi-dimension level, whatever you want to call it, and that exists within you. So basically, you're tapping into an aspect of yourself that you want to externalize as a physical form, or a physical descriptive purpose, or actor, actress, You want to, maybe like, again, with films and movies, this is the this is the physical characteristics, okay? Whenever someone writes a story, you write a story, and then, usually a script's written for a film or movie, and then, you find actors as best to fit that character that the writer, or you, the writer, had in mind for it, right? And so that's what we've done with much mythology, within much of occultism, much of aliens, all that stuff, and so on, is that we've given them these physical aspects that how they look or whatever. And this is not to say that ideas are not true or not true, because in fact everything is true and it is not. But that's a whole other thing in a sense. But the bottom line is not like so much like you hear of any type of like reptilian or whatever. Oh my God, we should fear this. Oh my God, we should. It's all bullshit. Okay, like you cannot fear it. It's an aspect of yourself. Anything and everything is an aspect of yourself. Therefore, there is no fear. There is no judgment. There is no whatever. Like, everything boils down to it's your self-reflection. The world, that's how the world is. Some of you know this. Some of you, may be learning this anew. But the world is a reflection of every single person creating for themselves. Whether they're aware of it or not. Whether they're aware of what they're creating or what they're not. Still the same thing. Which is why you have many different aspects of looking at it. Why you have people within the conspiracy type levels and that type of thing. And then you have people with the New Age, communities type of thing, which is still the newly adopted religion. And then you have the others, so on and so on and so on. People in occultism, and people like myself that get in all the areas and whatever, because all those areas are all true. They're all realities. And they're not true at the same time. See, isn't the paradoxes fun? Paradoxes are just, well, it's a thing, We're in this for a purpose. We're in the Matrix. We're in this illusion. We're in this world. We're in this, whatever the hell you want to call it. Okay? We're here to learn that we are both of these things. We're not here to get away from, I want to get away from my dark side, and I want to get away, and I want to be all light, or I want to get away from my light side and be all dark. No, we are here to embrace both of these aspects. I don't, there is no light, there is no dark, there is both. We are both of these, okay? We are these beings. We are these things. We are this energy. We are having a human experience. The human was the best representation physically that the consciousness, our consciousness, God's source, could construct for us. Does this mean that if, and I say if, and when we physically expire from these vessels, and I say if because that's a whole other topic and a whole other video on death, I'll just say that. But when that, if and when the time comes for the individual, it is not the end. This is just an experience, and from what we know, we don't know, yeah, I'm not going to get into the topic of death right now. Like I said, I'm going to do that's another video in itself entirely. But, this idea that just the fear is just, we're getting away from one fear, or we're getting away from one thing, but yet, you still should fear this. Oh, don't talk to Archons, and don't talk to this, and, don't call upon this or whatever. I say it like this. Realize that these things are an aspect of yourself. Put your own power within them. If you want to invoke an externalized version of yourself, call up whatever, that's fine. But realize, that when you call upon an entity, when you call upon a externalized source or an externalized being for any reason, again, I'm going to keep repeating this. You're working with yourself, okay? You're working with that aspect of yourself, okay? You're a multitude of everything. You're a universe. You are a universe. We are a universe. And what is in the universe? Every fucking thing, right? So what makes it any different that you would not have these things within you, within us, within everyone? It really doesn't. You can paint all type of pictures. You can, lean to one side. You can have times, as I do, you can have times where you lean more to the lighter side, if you will, the right-hand path, or the darker side, or the left-hand path, or, a mix of the two, or whatever. And that's fine. Like, there's obviously extreme cases, and this is, I've had people ask me, well, what about, like, murders and rapes and violence and stuff? Well, that would be the extreme side of things. And that's when you have things overbalanced. That's when the dark, okay, imagine the scale. That's when the dark, and I've explained this in a video, I forget which one, but imagine the dark and the light on a scale, obviously, and the darkness is weighed down more because it's out of balance. And so that's the more extreme side of that is the, murders, rapes, and massacres, shootings, all that type of stuff is on that more extreme side, or leaning towards that more extreme side. And at the same time, on the light side, when the light side is weighed down, you have people who, as with no offense, but, well, sorry, not sorry, but the New Age community, or whatever, that, they all think that everything is all light and love and peace and whatever, and that nothing can, and that's all there is. Well, guess what? That is somewhat true. However, what you do with that is you hold yourself within that space, and you limit yourself of that's what you have programmed yourself to think, and that's all there is. And so you exist in the space completely of light and love and don't experience anything else. Nothing else. That's what you've done. So in order to actually live fully, you must experience both sides. You must allow yourself to experience both sides, because both sides are mirrored. Both sides are opposites. That's why opposites exist all the time. Alright? That's why we have night and day. That's why we have light and dark. They are opposites. They neither one of these things will never exist without the other. It's impossible. That is the fabric of what energy is. The statement, Einstein, energy can never be destroyed nor created, comes from that aspect. That is a two. The light and the dark, the black and the white, are the 2 points that rotate simultaneously at all times. Yes, again, they can become off-balanced. The point here is, but they exist at all times. They exist. They are what creation. They are what the end code, if you will, is. There may be something after that, but that's where we're leaning towards now. Is It's the rotation of energy. It's the rotation of both sides. Both sides must flow completely, must flow freely. So, don't obviously use discernment. There are certain things that do have consequences within the physical and energetic level. And I'm not talking about karma, okay? My personal idea of karma, or thoughts on karma, is it exists if you think it does. In other words, as guilt, if you think you're guilty and you think you're deserving to receive a consequence of an action that you did, then that's what you're going to get, however big or small that action is. Likewise, if you think you're not going to get a consequence or whatever, you don't deserve it, or that what you did was, somehow right or whatever, then, you're going to be fine. And that action will not come right away, will not come within the first day, the first week. That action can take 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, whatever. And I say could, because it's all dependent upon you. You're meant to experience everything. It's not really looking at karma or looking at a way. Everything will be experienced by you. Everything you do to another, be it good or bad, will be experienced by yourself. I can attest to this, as I've experienced much of this. I've experienced many things that I've done to others, both good and bad. And I've also witnessed others that have done things to me, both good and bad, experience their results as well. It's balance. That's all it is. You are a mirror to everyone and everything else, as everything else and everyone else is a mirror to you. Actually, I posted that the other day. But that is true. Everything must exist as a mirror, a reflection of what you need to work on next, what you want to work on next, what your options are to work on next, and all that. But having a fear over one aspect, having a fear over the light and the dark, are not going to get you anywhere. So it's about realizing this and embracing both of these sides, and it's not bad at all. It's once you kind of break past that and you realize this, things become really cool. Things become beautiful. Things become so awesome, because it's like, okay, I embrace both of these aspects within me, and you're going to have your limits. Of course, you're going to have your limits of what you may not want to embrace, or what you at a certain time, but it doesn't mean you're not going to want to embrace it at any time. It means that, okay, when something new comes to you, or something new comes up, you want to look at it as, I see this, I don't know or am not comfortable with it at this moment, but yet I want to learn as is good for me, as to my understanding. And I guarantee you say that, you will get that. It's as simple as that. Okay? But I think I'm going to wrap this up now. If anyone has anything they'd like to add, I thank you all for listening. Share this if you would like. Comments below. But if you would like to work with me, inbox me. Still doing one-on-one sessions right now with one-on-one sessions with clients, and working on my group, soon-to-be group, month-long Grabbing Your Reality by the Balls session, which is going to be fucking epic. So yeah, still got that in the works. I haven't forgotten about that, but so yeah, that's all I have for now on this. If you, like I said, drop me a message, comment below. Otherwise, love you all. Echo your sounds. Peace out. If you would like to book a personal session with me, you can do so by reaching me at any of the following links. Until then, take care of yourselves. Echo your sounds. Peace out.